Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes
Sometimes. Yeah.
sometimes, and then we have to rectify them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to open the show with rectifying a mistake that I made on Twitter, and I think is worth pointing out.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So as Apple announced the Series 5 watch, they said it has 18-hour battery life, and they called it
Right.
all day.
Yep.
And I said, that's all day on Venus, not Earth. I need to correct myself. It is actually Uranus that it is 18 hours, not Venus.
Right. Because, wait, Uranus, really? It seems like that would be a...
It's spinning.
So the time of the day is not a function of how far it is from the sun?
Apparently not.
But maybe it is plus the circumference of the planet?
Yeah, it's...
I don't actually know.
It
seems like it'd be less as you got closer.
Yeah.
Why do I think that? Because the gravity would...
No, it seems like it'd be less as you got further.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, as you go further. No, I think those days would get longer.
Yeah.
No? I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so a day on Uranus is a little over 17 hours. So if you have an Apple Watch and you live on... Yeah.
Wow. So what was the battery life of the previous gen Apple Watch?
I think it's about 12. Well, it's probably like 14 or 16 something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They claim it's whatever.
I mean, for many people, that probably is all day. I mean, I think the problem with the Apple Watch isn't that it dies in the middle of the day so much as that the day is what you get, you know, right?
Unless you're using it at night and then.
Yeah, actually, right. I don't know how they solved this one.
You move to Uranus. That's what you do. Then it's
right. Right.
That's the
Plus,
solution.
we would all be supermen and unable to breathe.
Yeah. And it's a gas giant, so there's not a whole lot to really stand on. We just kind of be like floating in a soup.
Yep. No, it must be cold.
It might be really hot, maybe. I mean, you think about all the gravity pulling down. At some point it gets hot, right? Closer you get to that center.
In space, no one will correct you on Twitter.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it. So obviously yesterday was the big Apple event. New phones. We have the iPhone Pro. We have the iPhone 11. We still have the iPhone XR. We still have Pro Max. We have the Gillette Mach razors of phones now. I mean, this isn't even the Pro.
Do you see once I tell you this, I didn't see this myself, but I saw this in some meme somewhere. If you look at that picture, and once you realize it looks like this, you kind of can't unsee it. It looks like spider eyes.
Well,
right? With all the, because spiders have
multiple. Yeah. All I wanted to keep doing was drawing like a smiley face on this side.
Yep.
I guarantee I could give this to my daughter and she just put the little googly eye stickers on there, and then it would just be great.
Never work. Yeah.
So, I mean, the phone is exactly what we expected. Apple is brazenly calling it a Pro phone, despite the fact that it doesn't have a fingerprint reader. It still has a 60 hertz display.
Doesn't have USB-C.
Doesn't have USB-C. You know
what though? So I find that branding to be more consistent.
I'm not. Yeah.
Something they can continue using going forward.
I agree.
It makes it mesh with their other products. I think they will probably make them more Pro in the future. So you could kind of imagine whatever that comes out next year, maybe those are the ones that go USB-C and the low-end XR replacement, or whatever they call it, continues with Lightning or something. You could kind of imagine that. But it's okay. I mean, I'm okay with it. 3 cameras, right? I mean, they're catching up, but in the scheme of the iPhone product range, I guess those are Pro. Better displays. I don't know. It's similar to what they're doing on the iPad side. Yeah.
Well, there you go. They did they did lower the price a little bit, kind of, sort of. Like the iPhone XR is actually what now, $599, and then
so I think it's $700 versus $750.
Let me look this up.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean the iPhone XR today is $600? No, that's true. That's true. So last year the entry level new phone, which was the iPhone XR, was $750. This year, the semi-identical phone, which is the iPhone 11, starts at $700.
Yep.
And then I don't remember the exact pricing, but I want to say the iPhone 8 is $450, and the 8 Plus is $550 to start, and the iPhone XR is you said $600. I think that's correct.
I just had it up.
By the way, it's a fine
599.
phone.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good phone, and um, that's something you could compare to the Google 3A XL, which has a better camera, but otherwise, I think the iPhone probably outclasses it. The 10R, that is. I wish they had. Yeah, they obviously had pricing pressure last year and the year before, frankly, with the 10, but they lowered the price in China over time. When I saw them reduce the price on the entry-level one, I thought, here we go. They're going to go down 50 on the other ones. That would have been smart. They didn't do it. If you can hold off on this, I have to think there's going to be big sales over Black Friday. And,
so
that's interesting.
It's the big question of what phone do I get my wife? Because what I was going to do, which we talked about, I'd just go buy the high-end one and then just give her my old one. But I don't know.
Not a big difference here.
No, there's really not.
XS.
There's really not. And then effectively, if I take her iPhone 7 to Verizon and get an iPhone 11, I get $150 off.
Yep. So
it's $699, $599, so $549-ish. And then the other thing is too, is I have $60 in Verizon Up credits. So basically get about $200 off. So to go spend $499 to get her phone. Plus, she's absolutely going to keep that phone for 2 years. That's how long we keep our phones. So
it's a solid phone. I mean,
the question is the one thing could I convince her to get the XR?
Here's the only problem I have with the is it 10R or XR? I can't.
Whatever.
Whatever. I know it's a 10. I don't know why. It must be 10, right? So it's 10R. So the issue I have with this is goofy. It's that Apple never made cases for it, except for a clear case or something. Like they make all these beautiful leather cases for the other iPhones. They make that kind of polyurethane, the kind of grippy kind of case. And for some reason, for this one, they never did. Yeah. So when they introduced the iPhone 11 yesterday, I don't know if you caught this, but he actually made a point of saying, we're even making great cases for all of our new iPhones. Like he actually said it that way, meaning that the iPhone 11 would have these case choices, which it should. Yeah. And so I don't know if that's a reason. Here's mine. I bought a third-party leather case. It has some kind of a brand on it. I can't even read it. But, what I wanted was the Apple case. I think that's what a lot of people want. It's kind of goofy. I don't know if that matters to your wife or not.
Yeah. So we will
use a case. She must use a case.
Yeah, she does use a case.
Yeah.
So we will see. I'll probably just let her figure out whichever one she wants, and then
the 10R would be a great choice. It really would, I mean, and it would last for years for sure.
Yep. As they all will. I mean, that's kind of Apple's problem, right? Is that these phones don't just die after 18 months. They tend to stick around.
Actually, by the way, on this note, the other thing that they didn't do that I think they should have, and because this would have been my choice if I were buying one of these things. Remember last year on the 10R, they had three storage choices, right? 64, 128, 256. On the high-end phones, I think they also had three choices, come to think of it, but it's 64, 256, and then probably 512 or something. The upgrade price from the base model to the more storage is $150 extra. You're already spending like $1,000 on this thing, or $1,100.
Yep.
I mean, that really makes this thing expensive. Like if they could have had a 128 gig option for $50, like they're doing on the lower end one, that would have been ideal, and it would have been the one I would choose, and I bet it would be the one most people would choose.
There's a reason why it doesn't exist, because that's what everyone would need.
No, I know, but given the in other words, they didn't lower the price. What they could have done was just slot it in. It's not even lowering the price. You just slot in this other option. You're actually causing people to spend more money, but not as much more money. And that's a very common kind of a retail understanding that, the low end one draws people into the store, but they see this value of an upgrade and they get it. And that's what this is. Like it's kind of the perfect, upgrade. And it's goofy to me. They just don't offer that.
Well, they can get you more money because I don't know.
Yeah,
64 gigs is not it's a lot, but it's not a lot.
It's not enough. Not for a phone I'm going to use every day.
Nope.
I put all kinds of content on there. I take a lot of photos, and 64 doesn't cut it. And that's an issue I've run into on the Pixel 3a XL, which had been my daily use phone until I got the Samsung. aside from performance problems, whatever, this issues with the phone, but I literally, for the first time, have had to take advantage of Google's offloading feature for photos, right? Well, they'll automatically, I don't know what the exact filter is, but it's like if it's older than 60 days, and they're backed up in the cloud, we'll just delete them from the phone. And it's something I've never had to think about before, but 64 gigs is just it's not enough. And if I had been taking pictures all summer on this thing, which I didn't, because when we went to Europe, I used the Huawei instead because the camera's so much better. That thing, it never would have made it. I don't know how I would have had to. You can have one audiobook, you can have one album of music. That I would have had to go back to that goofiness, and I can't deal with that.
Yeah, the other things announced, which I actually think this is a pretty good product. They announced their 10.2-inch entry-level iPad. Starts at $329. To me, that that product is fantastic for Apple. It has to sell in massive volume because that is in my opinion, a fair price for a very good product. It's
the best tablet, period. I mean, other than the better iPads, right, that have better screens but are much more expensive. But as far as value goes, I mean, you can't beat that thing. And by the way, this is something I didn't think of when I watched the event, but as I was writing it up later, what occurred to me was we talk a lot about this notion that a lot of people, maybe even most people, can get most of their work or a lot of their work done on a phone, and that they occasionally need this other device with a bigger screen and a keyboard. And there's all these choices. Obviously, we have PCs and Macs, because these legacy devices that are kind of complex and can be expensive. And then we have these newer devices like a Chromebook, which can be very inexpensive. And you can see why such a thing exists. Like it meets a need. It's like a simple thing when you need a bigger screen and a keyboard. They added smart keyboard support to the iPad. I mean, I wouldn't write a book on it, but I have to be honest, people could write a book on it. And it's not maybe what I want exactly, but and look, the notion of a keyboard with an iPad is not new. I know that. But the fact that Apple is making their own keyboard compatible with this thing, and of course now it's been pencil compatible since last year as well. It gives you it gives you that thing. It's that thing. It is a low cost. I mean, it's about $500 altogether, keyboard and device. But for it's good for other things. You can read on it. You can watch movies and so forth, browse the web, whatever. But for those times when you need the bigger screen to write something of length, this could actually solve that need. Not maybe for me, not maybe for you, maybe not for a lot of people watching the show or whatever, but for our wives and kids and brothers and sisters.
My parents is exactly who I thought of with this device, because they use iPhones and they use a PC for honestly just email and Facebook. What do they need this for? What do they need a full PC for anymore? Right.
I mean, I know it's. I hesitate to even raise the topic because I know for a lot of the people, for our site in particular, that kind of rubs them the wrong way. Like anything that's perceived as a threat to Windows is immediately denounced. But I'm not going to be able to do it. But I don't know. And then you get the whole lock-in ecosystem that Apple has. I mean, obviously that person's also going to have an iPhone, probably going to have an Apple Watch. They're going to be paying for iCloud storage. Kind of goes on and on. And I don't know. It doesn't seem horrible to me. I mean, it does to me personally, but I mean, for a lot of people, it seems to make sense.
The other thing too, which I'm going to call this the Disney impact or the Disney effect, is Apple TV's TV service, which was heavily rumored to be $9.99, shows up at $4.99. And
you're getting it for free if you buy any new Apple hardware over the next year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
For a year. So, a year of $5 is $60, right? So, okay, it's not a huge, I would almost rather have the $60 off the phone, frankly, but okay. They're going to launch with something like 7 shows. It's not going to be a lot. The thing that they don't have that Disney has is an unbelievable backlog of current, and awesome current that people want. Star Wars,
Planet
Marvel.
of the Apps isn't going to be a big.
No, it's not. And listen, over time, they could establish themselves as a credible kind of HBO style quality over quantity kind of thing. Well, actually, HBO's quantity as well. It doesn't matter, but I think there's room in the market for tier A services that everyone has, basically Netflix, and then tier B services that a lot of people have because they're inexpensive and they can tack it on and it becomes part of their cord cutting deal, right? And Disney falls into this category. It's fantastic. Actually, Disney's probably tier A at some point, but Apple at this price and with their fan base and the bundling and everything, they know that they're going to get killed over the next year if they don't do something right here. And lowering the price is right, especially while they'll build up the content base, and then giving it away with the products is right. And I hope the Department of Justice is watching, because that's technically illegal. But, whatever. Bundling is always fun, and it benefits the consumers in some way, I guess. Yeah,
because the biggest thing we don't know right now, and it appears that they've spent a lot of money on content. They've got Jennifer Aniston and a show. Are any of these shows any good? Right? It's not a Game of Thrones. There's no exclusive Orange is the New Black or anything. Like, we don't know if the content's any good.
Yeah, but that's true. But here's the thing: like, people are often a lot less critical of things than I am. I mean, maybe I'll put it that way. There are shows that were excellent in the beginning and have won awards and are beloved by people that I will tell you, like on Netflix, for example, the last and latest season of Orange is the New Black is the most depressing, terrible thing I've ever watched.
Yep.
The latest season of Stranger Things is so bad it's almost unwatchable. Like, it's a terrible show. And so, you know what? I bet as I say that, there are people shaking their heads like, what are you talking about? I've watched both those things and they're fantastic. I suspect Apple will have this stuff will be fine. It looks, what they need to do is meet a quality bar.
Yep.
And that Game of Thrones looking thing that they showed with the blind guy or whatever that was. And
which I'm going to repeat my own joke because I found it hilarious and I laughed many hours about it. So what Paul is talking about is, we're talking at a high level here. There's an island, everybody's on it blind, and then there's a small group of people who get their vision back. It's like two babies or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And Paul, you know what those group of people are called?
No.
Android users.
Now the blind can see. They're Android switchers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
I referred to that show as the show about the lump of meat. That is Jason, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Whoever he is. Okay. Anyway, I think like arcade falls into this category too, right?
Yeah.
$5 a month. You're like, okay, I'll actually, that's cheap. I didn't think any of those games they showed were particularly compelling. I'm a little nervous that they're overtly kind of mobile games.
Yeah.
We all know that mobile games can have beautiful graphics, and we've seen that kind of thing. They did a game demo later, like they've done those game demos with the Unreal Engine in the past, that was kind of a grittier shooter looking thing. And I thought that was the better game than any of the game, the arcade stuff that they showed. But again, $500 a month, $5 a month, maybe. And when we flash forward a year, the thing they didn't do was offer like a bundle. And I think that's going to happen, right? So you could have like an all-up bundle where, news and TV and arcade and whatever else they have, maybe a little bit of cloud storage, $20 a month or $10 a month or whatever wherever they land, and you're saving X amount over if you had bought all those things. That's the type of thing Apple will be successful at, because I think they have enough people who would pay for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's just one of those things. We'll wait and see. I keep contemplating writing up a really long thing on Thread about the arcade stuff, because there's an interesting dynamic of the people who pay for gaming subscriptions today are typically very hardcore, like invest a lot of time. Apple, to your point, is very decidedly going after that more casual market, like people who would play like, is there a market there for that?
It looked like a bunch of Nintendo games to me.
I fully agree. But the question is can Apple turn that into a market, right? Typically, it's not been a market. So that is the big kind of underlying question here.
My conclusion to that would be, if it is possible, Apple will be the company that can do it.
I would agree.
Because it's interesting. Tim Cook and maybe the Apple leadership, whatever, they have kind of a clean-cut kind of an image. It's very clear he would prefer not to have violence and sex and, adult content and so forth on his platforms. In that sense, they are emulating Nintendo. That was the Nintendo thing back in the day. Remember when the original NES came out, you had to go through Nintendo to ship the cartridges, and you couldn't have, certain levels of violence and everything. They were very strict about that. Disney is like that with Disney proper, but of course, when you get into Star Wars, Marvel, etc., they have violent content and more adult themes and so forth. But this is, it's an area Apple and its fan base might appreciate that. So anyway, I think it will do okay.
Two notable things that did not show up, and you may not be thinking what I'm thinking. One is, where was Photoshop for the iPad? That was shown off, I think, about a year ago on stage, and they made a huge deal about this.
Was that iPad Pro specific, or was it just all iPads?
I think it was iPad Pro specific, but it was announced about now, and we haven't heard anything about it. Now, granted, I believe there was a beta earlier this year, and feedback was that it was really rough. But yeah,
me. Who was it? Was I don't know if it was Mozilla at the time or Netscape. Netscape at one point was going to rewrite their browser suite in Java. And Corel, which at the time had not just WordPerfect, but kind of a WordPerfect suite that probably had Quattro Pro and other things in it, was likewise going to rewrite that stuff in Java, for some reason, right? Yeah. And probably for cross-platform reasons. But in both cases, I think there was a public release of some kind that was probably like a beta or something. And those things just disappeared because, as it turns out, that's a terrible idea. Yeah, why is that little guy down there?
Yeah, thank you, Windows.
I wonder if this is kind of like that. I don't mean to say that it's not going to appear. I'm sure it is. The platform's too important for them not to do it, but they must have had. It must be technically difficult to make something that makes sense on an iPad screen where you might be touching things and it still has the power of the desktop product. It's what do we call that? A hard computer science problem.
Yeah. Yeah. The other hard computer science problem is where no HomePod, nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. Right. Like smaller HomePods.
Not a companion, not an update, not a new color.
That one might just disappear. I get the feeling that hasn't.
I hope this thing crashes and burns, and then they finally bring Siri to Sonos.
Yep.
It'll take Siri, 5 years, but
yeah, Siri will come to Sonos regardless. But yeah,
if that happens, I will probably convert my entire house to Siri.
Wow.
Well, it just makes sense because that's what I'm using on my phone. I don't need the Sky computer to be something different. And honestly, all it's used for is play music from Spotify and set a time.
There's as there always is with platforms, you always do these comparisons. Which one? We asked all of the assistants 118 questions, and here's how they did. And Google will always come out near the top or at the top, and Amazon might be number 2, or whatever. Most people are like, "Hey, what's the weather today?" Or "What's my commute like?" And simple stuff, and or start playing some playlist. I'm sure is the number one thing ever said to these devices. Well, beyond "shut up" or whatever when it starts talking when you didn't mean to talk to it. But it's like when you say I will switch to Siri, my knee-jerk reaction, is to belittle you and no, is to kind of make fun of Siri in a way, but honestly, who cares? And it's like the Samsung too. Like they have Bixby. Why? I don't know. But this phone has this thing called, it's like Bixby routines. And I came across it in settings, and of course my knee-jerk reaction was, I'm just going to turn this off. And then I was like, well, hold on a second. Like, what is this? And so I kind of looked through it. They have these things that will run at certain events or times or whatever it is. And so one of the things they do is like they have kind of like a nighttime, like a good night kind of a routine. And the screen does stuff where it gets more orangey and it tones down alerts and all this stuff. And it's the type of thing, like, honestly, Android kind of has built into, but they go a little bit further. But there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and it was like, oh, yeah, okay. I mean,
sure.
I don't anticipate becoming a Bixby user. It's kind of weird to even say that, but I guess if you're in these ecosystems or whatever, I mean, any of these things are probably okay, for day-to-day tasks.
Yep. So, I don't know. That's about all I got. You got anything else for today, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know if you were in on this, but we did we sent out a newsletter to Thurrott Premium subscribers. Are you up on what happened here?
No.
Okay, so
I know what you were doing, but I didn't know it actually went out.
So it just went out today, the first one, and as part of so one thing that affects everybody, well, not everybody, actually, this just affects premium users, doesn't it? People who are on the site a lot may have noticed that we have little badges on users' icons. And those badges are for people who are alpha members. And alpha members are those people who joined premium before the service went live, and so they're it's like once an alpha member, always an alpha member. And, we obviously really appreciate people like that who supported us and took a chance, on this thing and whatever. And so over time, it's become clear to me and to others that what we need is we need a badge like that for all premium users, right? And we finally kind of got around to doing that and got a nice design, and we have different color choices and everything. And so that stuff went live, I think it was probably last night, actually, sometime late yesterday. And so I sent out a newsletter to people who are premium members to tell them about that change, and also to talk to them about some of the other things we were thinking for premium. Brad, for people who don't know this, has been heavily involved in a massive site redesign that's going on the Petri side. Some of this stuff, I think the beginning of that happens probably in October, late October, ahead of Ignite.
That's the hope. No promises, though. No promises.
But that's the idea. And then, a big part of the effort from our company, I wasn't involved in this almost at all, but for a lot of other people, was this Petri, stupid virus and threat thing, the Petri refresh. And so next year, we're going to spend some time doing that to Thurrott.com. Hopefully it won't be as time consuming. But the new Petri site looks beautiful. And but we didn't want the year to go by without anything happening on the Thurrott side, especially on the premium part of Thurrott as well. So we have these new icons, badges rather. Those are cool. And then there's been talk about a newsletter and just for premium readers. And so we put out the first issue, I guess, I don't know, today, just to kind of introduce it and to ask questions of readers, because we don't know what the frequency should be based on the feed. Let me look at the feedback here. Based on the feedback so far, overwhelmingly, they feel like it should be weekly. So thank you, everybody, for making me work more. I appreciate that. But the other neat thing about this is something I think about this a lot. You know this, like just being in the tech side of stuff, like you go to some website and you're like, it's like, I'm an Android user and I used an iPhone for a week and here's what, and I always think things like that are kind of cheap, because the people who do those things are so overwhelmingly involved with this other thing that they maybe can't appreciate that workflow is different somewhere else. And it becomes a little more negative than it needs to be, whatever. That said, I mean, I've always tested other platforms day to day. I mean, I kind of use these things, but I was thinking, I could probably do something more formal around testing other platforms, like integrated into my schedule a little bit more. The question is I'm probably going to do most of these, honestly, but where do you start? Like, what's the thing I should do first or whatever? And so I threw out some ideas. I had 7 or 8 of them. I allowed people to write stuff in. There's been a lot of discussion lately around low-end PCs, sub $500 PCs, Chromebook, iPad Pro, etc. So anyway, so far it looks like Chromebook is number 1, and we didn't actually specify an end time for this thing. That was dumb on our part, but number 2 is Linux, by the way. Using a docked laptop instead of the NUC, right, with my setup here with the dock.
Give you that second screen too.
Yeah. So honestly, also like using doing PC gaming instead of Xbox gaming, using a game subscription service, probably starting with Xbox instead of playing Call of Duty all the time. There's a bunch of stuff like that. So the truth is, I'll probably do most of these over time, but this will help me structure the order in which I do them, I guess. So anywho, if you are a premium member, look for that email newsletter. If you don't want the email newsletter, obviously you can opt out. You can unsubscribe from it. We're not trying to spam anybody, but if you want to participate, you can take the polls, and we'll see where it takes us.
There you go.
Yep.
Right. That's a little big update, actually, kind of.
Yeah. Right. Well, it all kind of happened yesterday. Harrison, it was working for a long time on the icon stuff. There was some hilarious mistakes that occurred there. And then, we finally got it working, and it's cool. They're cool looking. Like, they're really colorful looking and more modern, and of course they apply to all premium members, which I think is long overdue. So that's cool.
Good stuff. So, all right, everybody, that wraps it up for today. We should be back here tomorrow next time. Same time, same place, same people, unfortunately.